Welcome into another edition of Club 904. What's going on in the club today? We have the debut of our friend Austen Lane live here on the Action Sports Jags 24/7 channel. Matt Hamilton, the executive producer of Up and Adams on FanDuel Sportsnet, going to join us. And of course, we have you, winners, here on a Victory Tuesday to hang out with us following a Jaguars victory over the Carolina Panthers. And as we look ahead to this Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals, let's party, folks. Let's have some fun in the club today. Welcome into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. The club is officially open and we are going up on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Mia O'Brien of Club 904, syndicated on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 streaming channel. You can follow us on YouTube, X, Facebook, Twitch. Stream us anywhere there, not to mention actionnewsjax.com, as well as the .2 channel. Tons of ways to interact with the show. Leave a question, leave a comment. You also can tweet at yours truly, Mia O'Brien TV. We are also streaming each and every episode on Sunday nights at 9:04 p.m., Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m., right there at Mia O'Brien TV as well. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the O'Brien NFL Notebook with scoops, including some scoops on the Jaguars' activity on the trade market this week and a whole lot more. I've seen a bunch of you guys become standard scoopers, friends of the pod. A lot of fun ways to interact with us there as well. And of course, we want you to engage and interact with this show. Reason I probably started off the show a little bit awkwardly is because we had a little bit of technical snafus, but checking in now, I believe we should be up and running with our proper title on the YouTube channel. If not, I'll make sure that we correct that here in just a little bit. But really excited for the show today. Without further ado, let's see who's in the club. Oh, that's right, folks. It is Austen Lane making his debut on Club 904. We're going to do a little film breakdown. We're going to workshop some working titles. First and foremost, my friend, are you producing this show? Look at you in the command center right now.
Yeah, I'm in the command center. I have no business producing anything. I do have a little experience like to prior shows, but this whole setup right here, Mia, is different. But I'm not sure if you're producing everything, but whoever made that song that intros the show, I'm going to need that as an MP3 because I'm going to be bumping that in the truck when I come to the studio because that is what the kids like to call a banger, Mia.
Well, that's thanks to the good folks at Canva. So if you have a Canva subscription, make sure you check out the music highlights there. Otherwise, maybe I'll get the MP3 for you. Or better yet, Austen, you can also check out this podcast on demand, all previous episodes, at the Action Sports Jax podcast channel, which is also where you can find Brent and Austen on demand. Make sure you like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. But a whole heck of a lot to get to in your maiden voyage here in the Club 904, Austen. Let's start with the news of the day here on Tuesday, September 9th. Tank Bigsby traded last night to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 5th and 6th round pick. Of course, as Michael Duraco, my colleague at ESPN, has noted, yes, the 5th round pick could go to a 4th. We are all Bryce Huff fans. He needs to have 8 sacks in the 2025 campaign. That pick that originated with San Francisco would revert to a 4th round pick. But your thoughts on the Jaguars trading their former 3rd round pick from the 2023 NFL draft?
I mean, you know, to me, it just speaks volumes in terms of he didn't quite fit the system here with Liam Cohen. And you saw the same thing with Evan Ingram, where a lot of Jaguars fans were questioning, well, why would you let go of Evan Ingram, right? He was a target monster a couple of years ago. He was really that security blanket when everybody else got hurt. They trade Evan Ingram, enter Brenton Strange, and, well, you don't really miss a beat. Now Brenton Strange is getting all the hype in terms of that tight end room. When you talk about the running back position in the Liam Cohen offense, whether it was last year in Tampa Bay or what they're trying to do this year, they need backs that are versatile. They need backs that you can run between the tackles, but they can also be great receivers. And I think Tank Bigsby, while he was a hard-nosed running back and lower shoulder, deliver punishment, I think in the receiving game, he wasn't quite to what they wanted. And I think the emergence now of Tootin and the emergence of LaQuint Allen, who are able to kind of lower their shoulders and deliver some punishment, it went to show them that if it's a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1, you like who you have in your room right now, leaving Tank Bigsby expendable. You get some great draft capital for him, and now it's on to, Tootin and Allen.
And I think that receiving ability, to your point, is why so many were shocked. Excuse me. Still battling that cold from Sunday night show if you guys joined us, but we're all good here. We talked about Travis Etienne potentially being traded. And instead, because of his receiving ability, he's the one that they keep. Were you surprised with the share that he got in Sunday's game?
I really wasn't, because I think this was Travis Etienne's job all along. If you want to go back to last year in Tampa Bay, when you had a guy in Rashad White and then you had a rookie coming in named Bucky Irvin, like obviously Bucky Irvin, we know who he is now, right? And he's kind of the bell cow. He's the starter in Tampa. But if you remember how it all shook out, they gave Rashad White every opportunity to keep his starting spot. He just didn't do it. He just wasn't that successful in terms of his yards per carry. So Irvin came in, took the job over. When you talk about Travis Etienne, like, he's got the most experience. I think in terms of the resume, he has shown the most to Liam Cohen. So Liam Cohen gave an opportunity to go, okay, even though we got a guy in Tootin who's maybe a little faster, even though we have a guy in LaQuinn Allen who everyone seems to like, we'll give you the opportunity to go out there and earn your keep. And I think Travis Etienne passed that test with flying colors. Now, it's just one game, right? Like, he'll have to do that the entire season. But for Travis Etienne's side, this is kind of a contract year for him, because even though he may not be next year here in Jacksonville, some team's going to pay him a lot of money to be their back, depending how the season goes.
Austen Lane making his maiden voyage in Club 904. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Be sure to leave a comment, leave a question. We are up and running on YouTube as well. As you can tell, my throat is deciding to corrupt in the middle of the program, which is why I'm glad Austin's hanging out with us. Matt Hamilton from Up and Adams going to join us at 1:30. So let's keep Austin we'll keep him busy for a little bit while my throat tries to work its way back through this cold. Austin, your initial thoughts on the Jaguars' 26-10 victory over the Carolina Panthers on Sunday?
I thought it was refreshing, I think, is what comes to mind, because this was a game that a lot of people had the Jacksonville Jaguars winning. And in the past, when you had those games, they're either nail biters or they're straight up losses. So you had a team from Carolina come in that you were supposed to beat, and you did the job. And then also, when you talk about the first game of the season, you go and ask, well, what did it look like? Did the coach's message get through? And when Liam Cohen took over here, he kept using the term physical, physical, physical. And I think that's what you saw. I think in terms of stopping the run with Chuba Hubbard, I think in terms of being able to run the football with your team and Travis Etienne and company, you're able to establish the line of scrimmage and win in the trenches. So as far as I'm concerned, I thought it was a great showing. Now, do you want to see more from Trevor Lawrence in this offense? Sure. And Brian Thomas Jr. has to eat more. Fine. But just in terms of physicality and what was preached the entire offseason, Mia, I felt like we saw that in spades.
We absolutely did. Let's keep it moving here in the club. We're workshopping a new segment whenever we do film breakdowns. And because you're grooving to the theme song, Austin, I feel like you're the perfect person to workshop this title with. Right now, I'm calling it 1-2 step, because I've given you one offensive play, one defensive play that we're going to break down here on Club 904. So maybe 1-2 step, but I'm open to suggestions. But let's get right after it. We are going to start, my friends, with Brian Thomas Jr.'s touchdown run against the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. So we're going to start pre-picture, pre-snap, Austin. Tell me what you see here. Why was this a successful play for the Jaguars?
So, there's a lot of, and by the way, 1-2 step is, I like it. I'm a big Sierra fan back in my day. Let me see you 1-2 step. Let me see you 1-2 step. So I go back to like my middle school days of being in awe of her talent and everything. So I'm not mad at the title, Mia. When we talk about what I see here in the pre-snap read, a lot of teams are doing this these days. And we're seeing kind of like these tight bunch formations, right? So you have, basically what we have here is you got two wide receivers on the left side, another wide receiver on the right side. And what I want to key in here is if you run these formations, because Sean McVay kind of revolutionized this whole offense here and this whole type of style, it's a great offense, but it needs one thing. You need the ability to be able to block as a wide receiver. Now, I've seen this play a couple of times. I think we know where we're going here with the Brian Thomas Jr. touchdown. Watch number 5 in Dwamie Brown of the type of block that he has that's going to spring Brian Thomas Jr. to the end zone here, because it all starts with the wide receivers blocking. And especially in the NFL, there are some guys out there that want to make quote unquote business decisions, right? Like some wide receivers don't get paid to block. They get paid to get fantasy points and score touchdowns. But if you want to play in this Liam Cohen offense, you have to know how to block.
All right, let's play the video if it would like to play for me. Bueller. There we go.
Brian Thomas Jr. is in for a Jacksonville touch.
So let's back it up.
Yeah, let's back it up. So real quick too, and we have to highlight, like I said, watch the top of the left of the screen, Dwamie Brown here, running kind of in, just finding his man. He gets a nice block. And also, I think this is Brenton Strange. I couldn't really tell the number. I think it's Brenton Strange out there as well. Brenton Strange is also finding work, right? And this is a reason why the Jaguars kept him over Evan Ingram, because it's his physicality, its ability to block in the run game. If this is Brenton Strange, it's hard to tell, but whoever the tight end is doing a great job here and helping springing Brian Thomas Jr. for a touchdown.
That is indeed Brenton Strange, who, of course, had more than one block that drew a lot of highlights and a lot of praise on both the internet as well as national media. And perhaps maybe he's coming more into the national conscious in his third year with the Jaguars. But certainly that blocking prowess that you brought up, Austen, this is a staple of the Sean McVay offense, having your skill players be equally as talented in blocking as your offensive linemen, your defensive linemen, the guys in the trenches. One other point to make, because I know you guys on the Brett and Austen show already belabored the whole Brian Thomas Jr., Trevor Lawrence, 1 catch on 7 targets. Oh my goodness, is there an issue? Yeah. I want to go back to something on your moonlight job that you mentioned yesterday when you joined Pete Prisco and JP Shadrick on Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars radio network. You mentioned this idea of reverses, jet sweeps. Pete was lamenting it, how it's such a staple of the McVay-Shanahan offense. You like it, though. Why?
So I like it because, and I experienced this when we used to play the Houston Texans back when I played. And it's not the exact same offense that it would have been Gary Kubiak and company ran in Houston. But why, if you're a defender, because here's how I break down film, and here's how I break down offenses. I put myself in the position of a defensive end. I put myself in the position of a linebacker. And okay, like when I see this formation, when I see this motion, how would I handle it? And the beauty that you're seeing now with plays like this out of this tight bunch formation, when you have Brenton Strange going in motion, everything is that it all looks the same, right? Like as a defensive lineman, as a defensive coordinator, it's your job to pick up on tendencies. And it's your job to say, okay, we've seen this look before. We have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen here. What's so great about Liam Cohen and the genius of Liam Cohen is that he's going to give you a look maybe in preseason or maybe in this Carolina Panthers game, and he's going to show you that exact same formation. But then he's going to turn it on its head, and he's going to run the exact opposite of what you think is going to happen. And you saw this actually it was a 4th down conversion that would have been Dwami Brown as well. And the 4th down conversion where everyone was saying, why are you going for it? They showed that look against Pittsburgh in the preseason, but they ran it a different way. So Carolina wasn't ready for that look because, well, they figured, okay, it's going to a certain side. And all of a sudden, Liam Cohen flipped the script. So it's a very simplistic in terms of a formation. Every NFL team runs this formation. But what's the genius of it, Mia, is the fact of not every NFL team is going to be like Liam Cohen and have just various branches off that said formation.
The reverses and the jet sweeps in particular, I think, were bugging Pete Prisco yesterday on Happy Hour just because it's, he likened it to Press Taylor with the bubble screen. Is the idea of the jet sweep, the reverse, just to keep defenders, especially on the edge, honest, or is there some sort of grander plan at play?
So it depends what you're really going, who you're going against here. Because the Carolina Panthers, when you were in these tight bunch formations, they were in a lot of zone sometimes. And when you're in zone, it almost takes your aggressiveness away a little bit. If you recall back from like when the New England Patriots played the Los Angeles Rams in the Super Bowl, this was years ago, and it's touted as one of the most boring Super Bowl games of all time. Well, Bill Belichick kind of had a certain wrinkle that he threw in against Sean McVay, leading them to win, where when Sean McVay would go tight bunch, Bill Belichick said, screw it. We're not going to let them dictate the pace. We're going to get on the line of scrimmage and cause chaos for them in man coverage. And that's what led to the Super Bowl win for the Patriots that year. It was the defensive prowess of Bill Belichick. For whatever reason, teams are scared to go man-to-man against these fast wide receivers, so they want to go a little more zone and play a little far back. And when you're in these tight bunch formations and you use zone, you have the advantage because you already have the defense on their heels. And now you're going to throw motion into the mix. I mean, it's advantage offense all day. It's just on the offense now to make sure they take their guy and block him up responsibly.
We love your interaction here in Club 904. Maybe if you have a question or two for Austen, feel free to hit us up. Again, YouTube, Twitter, probably the best way to send your questions. But if you're on Twitch, we could see that as well. If you're on Facebook, we'll check in on with you as well. Dell, one of our frequent listeners at Club 904, loving the live video analysis. We're going to keep that going. It's a 1-2 step. So we've seen one offensive play. let's look at a defensive play, Austen. So this is DeJuan Smoot's sack in the second half of this game. In case you missed Sunday's episode, he was so just emotional talking about his return to the bank, which was, incredible to catch up with him about that. But I was incredibly emotional, and I've shared this with him. I've shared it with Trayvon Walker, Austen, to see. I don't want to call it the return to Saxonville just yet, but the return of the stunts that we saw in 2022 when it was Arden Key, DeJuan Smoot, Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines-Allen. And we saw a little bit of a glimmer of it here in the second half against the Carolina Panthers, because there's DeJuan Smoot.
Yeah.
And he comes all the way around from the inside, and then you see Josh Hines-Allen, who was lined up on the left side. Let's pull that back to the picture so you could see pre-snap. Walk us through this play in particular, Austen, because this was a great example of the Jaguars getting home, I think, largely with 4.
Yeah, and listen, we've seen from now that this coach camp defense where they like to blitz a little bit, they like to generate pressure, but this was just a 4-man rush, and it shows that you can rush just 4 guys if you have the right game called. Now, the beauty about this whole play, even the pre-snap here, and I'm not sure, you probably can't really tell from this view, but if you go back a couple more seconds, you'll be able to see this. DeJuan Smoot essentially calls out his own sack here. Yeah, okay, you can start to tell a little bit here. So what we have as a defensive line, we have a thing called a game caller. And usually your game caller is going to be your most experienced veteran. He's probably going to be a 3 technique because he's in the middle of the defensive line. Like, people think that this play right here was pre-designed, out of the huddle, out of the snap, and it wasn't. This was DeJuan Smoot giving a signal. Now, without giving too much away, because when I used to play, this was the signal for exit. Now, they might have different signal, but if you look to Josh Allen on the right side defensive end, he's looking at Smoot for the signal. Smoot gives him a signal. So now, back when I played, you had Tex, which was basically the tackle's going to go first, the end goes second, and then you had an exit, meaning the end goes first and the tackle goes second. So Smoot had some sort of signal. It might have been this right here, meaning exit. That's basically telling Josh Hines-Allen, hey, man, you're going to go first. You're going to hit the guard, and you're going to set that screen for me, and I'm going to come around. The beauty about this exit game is the fact that sometimes if you're a defensive end and you come first, you actually get home because, the guard doesn't follow you. And sometimes, like it happened here, Smoot gets off scot-free, and he gets the quarterback sack. But this is an example right here of players being athletes, kind of, calling their own games and everything. And DeJuan Smoot essentially called this shot, called it exit game, and he gets home.
And of course, the relationship between 41 and now 98. I mean, it's one of those beautiful, perhaps underrated synergy stories in Duval County. One other note, though, on this play in particular, Austen, because as a former defensive lineman, edge rusher, I greatly appreciate your insight, because I don't think anyone anywhere else in Jaguars Twitter is going to get this sort of specific, nuanced conversation. So I thank you for that film breakdown. But one thing that I thought was interesting, where's Travis Hunter on this play? Do you see him on this play? Maybe up at the top of your screen.
At the top.
Mark and Tet McMillan, because that's an underrated storyline on this play, because certainly we saw Travis Hunter's first snap on defense was against Tet McMillan on that 3rd down play that they did convert. And I think, and I've said this on Sunday's episode, I wrote about it at the O'Brien NFL Notebook as well. I heard back in December that part of why Coach Prime switched defensive coordinators prior to Travis's final season was because they needed to run a more predominantly zone defense, because it allowed for him to make more plays on the ball, thus showcasing his skill set. I thought that on that 3rd down play in particular, Travis was playing maybe a little bit too much off, but obviously defensively, they were giving the Panthers whatever they wanted underneath. That was a short completion. I get it. But that was his first snap in the NFL on defense. And now this is later in the second half. I know he only played 6 snaps on defense in Sunday's win, but just check out. I mean, he does not let Tet leave his sight. Just look at how sticky that coverage is. And again, this is a guy coming in, I don't want to say cold, but he played 6 snaps on defense.
Yeah. And I think, and it's a great point, Mia, because when you talk about some of the hardest transitions going from the collegiate game, going to the NFL game, cornerback is right up there, especially having to play man coverage on a wide receiver. Now, granted, Tet McMillan is a rookie himself, right? So, I mean, he can go back and forth there, but people don't understand just in terms of the route running, the crispness, the speed, the get off. Like, it's such a difference between, playing a team from Colorado State and then having played at the NFL level and playing a team like the Carolina Panthers and Tet McMillan, who's a really highly regarded wide receiver. So, yeah, I think it's a great point in terms of you're going to see a lot more of that from Travis Hunter. And especially, I think you're going to see a lot more of this style of defense, Mia, against the Cincinnati Bengals. Because while the MO of this game was blitzing Bryce Young and making him feel uncomfortable, you can't get by with that game plan with Joe Burrow and company. Because if you blitz Joe Burrow, because you saw, I talked about it actually on Jaguars Happy Hour, there was a play that was designed to go to Hunter Renfrow. It was like a rub route, and the Jaguars sent the house, right? And it was an underthrow. And, thankfully it was an underthrow that they get home, and it wasn't a big deal at all. But if you have Joe Burrow and T. Higgins running that exact same play, that's going to be 88 out the gate, right? So sure, you go and blitz a little bit every once in a while, but you're going to have to rely on your 4 guys up front to get home and then play a combination of man coverage and zone coverage in the back end, just because you have to respect Jamar Chase, you have to respect Joe Burrow, you have to respect T. Higgins. So expect to see this a lot more, I think, against the Bengals as well.
Let's hit one question. This is the beauty of the 1-2 step, especially when we have Austen Lane in the club with us. This is from Cleetwood, Austin. Feel like Hunter was the only one who was impressed. A lot of the corners are playing off coverage. In terms of now, as we look ahead to that game against the Cincinnati Bengals, what sort of coverage, defensive scheme do you expect to see from Campanile in terms of this is a multiple front and a multiple iteration off or defense, I guess you could call it. What do you expect to see from them against the Bengals?
When you talk about Coach Campanile and what we've seen so far and the systems that he's come from, because I played in a Vic Fangio defense who he's learned from. Obviously, I thought a lot of the Green Bay Packers and what they run on defense as well when he was there. I mean, every week is going to be different, right? And I think that's the beauty of what he brings to the table. I think there's some defensive coordinators where ego takes over and it's like, I don't care what the offense throws at me, my defense is going to prevail. And then there's some defensive coordinators that want to go, you know what? Let's see what this offense does, and then let me go ahead and make some tailor-made packages to that offense. I think when we talk about what to expect this week, in terms of the look and the pre-snap looks we saw against Carolina, we'll see the same thing against Cincinnati. They love to bring their safeties up front. They love to look like 10 guys are coming at the same time in terms of blitzing and everything, and then they drop guys back. Usually when you do that, you want to do a little more zone coverage just because you want to get guys to landmarks. If you threaten to blitz that many guys and you're up front in guys' faces and everything, especially against T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and everybody, well, they have the ability to beat you deep, right? And the last thing you want to do in this defense right now is get beat deep. It's bent, don't break. So if that's the case, I expect to see a lot of guys in terms of disguises coming up in the box and everything, but then dropping back into zone coverage.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Watching Monday Night Football last night, Austen Lane, and seeing Brian Flores' defense, and I'm not saying that Anthony Campanile is at the level of his former boss and Brian Flores, but seeing just similar pre-snap looks, I was like, wow, I don't want to say we've made it, but at least we've gotten to the point where we look like the rest of the National Football League. Like, man, oh man, in Jacksonville, the times that they are coming for perhaps the Jaguars to have a bit more exotic and a bit more of a mainstream looking defense.
And keep this in mind as well, because I completely agree with you. It's so refreshing to see some of these looks now that have been copied around the NFL for a while. They haven't found themselves in a Jacksonville. But being a former player, there's nothing more fun than playing in systems like that allow you to try to confuse the offense. You're standing up, you kind of have a little gamesmanship. Like there's a certain amount of swagger, I feel like, that comes with defenses like that it's all about the looks and it's all about the confusion, and it allows you just to kind of be an athlete a little more. And then when it's your time to go blitz or when it's your time to drop back in coverage, make a play, go make the play. So I think the players are a really big fan of this scheme, and it's a really fun scheme to watch as well.
I told you we'd keep you an extra 5 minutes. We kept you about 25, but I hope you enjoyed this debut of the 1-2 step. Are we good with calling it that, Austen?
I'm fine with calling it the 1-2 step if that's what you want to go with. Shout out to Sierra. Her husband so may be getting benched in New York, so my condolences there, but shout out to Sierra.
Hey, shout out to Sierra. Shout out to Austen Lane. Of course, you can catch him and Brent each and every day, weekday, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We appreciate it, Austen. We'll do it again soon.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Austen Lane from the Control Center here at Action Sports Jax 24/7 headquarters. We appreciate all the interaction so far on today's show. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, man, oh man, do we have a treat for you. Matt Hamilton, the executive producer of the Up and Adams Show and a well-known Jaguars fan, going to join us to break down the Jaguars' victory over the Carolina Panthers and look ahead to that matchup with the Cincinnati Bengals in Ohio on Sunday. Again, be sure to like and subscribe at the Action Sports Jax podcast channel as well as on YouTube. We are up and running there. I see plenty of your comments there, so make sure you keep them coming. Questions for Matt as well. We'll do a whole lot still to come here on Club 904, going up on a Tuesday on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel.
Nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade.
Putting your needs first. It's the backbone of how First Florida Credit Union does business. In all honesty, you might as well be speaking another language when it comes to finances. Sure, I'm good with my money, but what am I missing in the fine print? That's what led me to First Florida Credit Union. They're the perfect choice for anyone starting their financial journey because they keep finances easy. Plus, they offer financial education and resources I can trust. So I'm always growing more confident. And as a young adult, I am constantly adding more responsibilities to my plate. From a car payment to a mortgage, it all adds up. Luckily, First Florida Credit Union makes sure it adds up in all the right places and not the wrong ones by offering better rates and lower fees than traditional banks, even if you're still trying to grow your credit. Because as a member-owned institution, First Florida genuinely puts people's needs first rather than focusing on profit. So I know as my needs change, they'll be right there to help me reach my goals. Check out firstflorida.org to learn how you can benefit too.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can get a free Connecticut reverse osmosis system with a purchase of a Connecticut Premier Softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Hi, I'm Greg Mackey from Cycles of Jacksonville. Whether you're looking for a side-by-side, ATV, motorcycle, or scooter, Honda has what you need.
The Honda Talon. Ultimate performance meets family-friendly fun. Prices starting at $363 a month. Or the sporty Honda CBR 650 starting at an affordable $204 a month.
Stop by and choose your adventure from a full line of Honda products. Only at Cycles of Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard. Family owned and operated since 1983.
Hello, I'm Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Since 2003, our firm has fought exclusively for the rights of men in family law. Divorce, modification of child support, alimony, custody, and more, all for men. A father is vitally important to a child's life, and being a man is not a reason to pay more in child support or alimony. I'm a single father. I get it. If you have a divorce or other family law issue, contact Kenny Lay & Associates at divorcemenonly.com.
High school football is right around the corner, and here at Action Sports Jax 24/7, we're bringing in a new wave of high school football coverage, introducing the Blitz Breakdown and the Friday night game of the week. Start your week off right with the Blitz Breakdown on Monday nights, giving you live analysis, interviews, picks, rankings, and more, making it a one-stop shop for high school football in the 904. And don't think we're stopping there, because on Friday nights when the lights get bright, Action Sports Jax 24/7 will be there with a live game of the week, bringing you some of the best in-county rivalries in the area.
Play as hard as you can play, do your job, and stay together. Okay, the rest will take care of itself.
Action Sports Jax 24/7, your home for high school football.
Welcome back to Club 904, going up on a Tuesday. Mia O'Brien, excited to bring in our next guest to the club. Of course, our thanks to Austen Lane for joining us for the first ever 1-2-step film breakdown. Something tells me that this next guy, who I promise we're going to get your name right up on the screen here momentarily, Matt. No, that's not Hamby. No, we need Matt Hamilton of the Up and Adam show. There he is. Thanks so much for hopping on Club 904, week 2 of the program. We've already got a massive marquee name. Matt, thanks so much for joining. Appreciate you hopping in.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We led off the show by noting, as much as you are the executive producer of Kay Adams' Up and Adam show on FanDuel Sports Network, you are also a rather large Jacksonville Jaguars fan. And when I texted you and said, hey, you around on Tuesday? You said you were so hyped. So let's start there. Initial thoughts of the first victory of the Liam Cohen era.
Man, I thought the Liam Cohen era couldn't start off any better than that. I know, some people, I guess it's mentioned because people are saying it's the Panthers, whatever, but the Panthers looked really good to finish out last year. That defense was excellent. A lot of people, I think, expected a jump from them, and for the Jaguars to just completely dominate that game from start to finish is a big deal. And I mean, any win's a big deal when you go through what this organization has gone through the past couple of years. But especially, again, I don't want to downplay it because it was the Panthers, because that was also a team that a lot of people expected would be on the upswing, and it was a start to finish dominant performance.
I don't want to say that you can cuss because technically we are live on the actionnewsjax.com website, Matt, but I think we can call it an ass kicking. I think we can, because that's what Liam Cohen called it. He said this was the more physical team, undoubtedly. And to your point, again, I think that people forget so many thought the Panthers could be frisky this year, much like they were the end of last year. And so I don't know why then we didn't put the Jaguars in that same frisky category, although maybe we should be putting them in the physical category alongside those teams like the Detroit Lions. And I'm not saying they're there yet, but point is that the similar identity, is it not, that the Jaguars are trying to build?
Yeah, and that's what it looked like. I love the pressure packages that they came up with. They had Bryce Young off balance all game. They threw a lot at him. They confused that Panthers protection. And that's really what it was, an aggressive mentality on both sides of the football. Not just with those blitzes defensively, not just with the run game doing what it did, but I think also where they took their shots in the passing game as well. I know it wasn't the biggest day statistically for Trevor, but I really liked how he looked in this system so far.
The folks in the club, because of course this is an interactive show, Matt. So of course we encourage comments, questions for Matt Hamilton, myself, anyone else here at Club 904. They want to know your thoughts on the big move last night to trade Tank Bigsby away to the Philadelphia Eagles. Facial tootin' season. That's certainly what the fantasy football streets are hoping. But I know you, especially what we just discussed when it comes to blocking prowess and physicality. Something tells me you're a bit of a LaQuint Allen guy. Am I right in saying that?
I mean, listen, I think a lot of it, I was a Tank Bigsby fan, so I don't love it from that standpoint. But when you look at the overall makeup of this running back room, and I think with what ETN showed, we were in the middle, actually, kind of putting together a little segment on ETN for the show when the trade happened. But yeah, I mean, I think that performance from ETN had a little something to do with it, but overall it's because of the depth in that running back room. And I do think it is, I think they see Tootin as that next guy, and Bigsby, wasn't really needed anymore with what ETN showed and having Tootin there. So I think it was about that. But yeah, I mean, what an incredible start for ETN with all the stuff, all the chatter that went on this offseason about what is that running back room going to look like? Is he on his way out? To come out and make that kind of a statement against, again, what was a good run defense for a large portion of last year, especially with Derek Brown back in there, to do what he did was extremely impressive.
So break it down for us, Matt, because again, we just did the 1-2-step film breakdown with Austen Lane, but you're a film junkie. Why does Travis Etienne fit the Liam Cohen offense more than a Tank Bigsby?
So I think it's hard because, again, I like Bigsby. I'm not trying to,
There were a lot, dude. I said it to
Bigsby,
my fiance.
but
I was like,
yeah.
I did not know that this many adult women in Jacksonville love Tank. Like, Tank's a great guy, War Eagle, man. Like, he's awesome. But I did not expect the outpouring of support on the timeline last night, like we did, and we all love Tank. But the point
Yeah.
is that clearly this regime has drawn a line in the sand and they've said, this is the type of running back that we need. Although I do think they need a little bit of everything when it comes to fleshing out that room.
Yeah, and I think it ultimately comes down. I think ETN with his vision. I think he has a little bit better vision than Tank. I think we saw the explosiveness when he was able to get through there on that 71-yard run. I think it's just I really think that's what it comes down to. And the vision's really important for any running back in any scheme, but I think especially in this scheme. And again, a lot of it is they're creating a lot of confusion for the defense with all the motions, all of that stuff, which is going to help this run game out tremendously. I think Liam Cohen is one of the most creative play callers in the run game that we have in this league. And again, it puts vision at a premium. It's important for every running back in any system, but I think especially this system, it puts that vision at a premium. And I think that's the one area where you can look at Tank sometimes, and he struggled at times to find the hole to find that hole, the cutback, those things. Right. Throughout when the hole was clear and he got through it, he looked awesome, but he struggled sometimes finding that hole. So I think that's where they prioritized DTN a little bit more.
But that's what's so interesting to me, Matt, is if you had asked, and I know this because I asked them, multiple people, and again, different regime in the building the last few years, they had questions about Travis Etienne and his vision comparatively to that of Tank Bigsby or even James Robinson prior to Bigsby's drafting in 2023. And so I'm with you. I mean, in terms of seeing the field on Sunday, there was no question. I thought that Travis Etienne saw the field as well as we've seen him vision-wise since he got into the National Football. So why does it change? Like, why does Liam Cohen come in and all of a sudden we feel like he's seeing the full field? Is it just because they really want to play, I would say east to west, but the inside-outside zone was really what the Doug Peterson run game was based off of?
Yeah, it's a great question. And because there were moments where it's like, yeah, he's running into the backs of his offensive linemen. He's maybe playing a little too hard. It could just be an adjustment with the coaching and the way that they've approached things with him. And I do think with the motion and the wrinkles that they have in this run game that they throw at you, things do declare themselves a little bit more clearly for Travis. I think that could be a part of it, but it does seem like I feel like almost at times he would run a little too hard right out of the gates, and that was kind of causing issues for him and kind of jamming him up with this offensive line, versus it looked like he was a little bit more patient to let things declare themselves yesterday. So it could just be that adjustment in coaching and a little bit of an adjustment in approach from him.
We, of course, encourage you guys to get in on the conversation here at Club 904. You can at me on Twitter, at Mia O'Brien TV. Of course, all of the Action Sports Jacks channels, live and streaming. And, of course, at Matt Hamilton 25. Matt, this one comes from Justin, and I think Justin was actually the one who cued me into this yesterday, or Sunday, excuse me, and it's why I asked Trevor Lawrence in the post-game press conference about his footwork, because Mark Schlereth made a note during the broadcast that Trevor had said for several years that he wanted to change his footwork, that he thought that there was perhaps something that could alter, in the words of Tiger Woods, I suppose, if we want to compare the two, maybe rebuilding it from the ground up will deliver a better result and better payoff in the long run. Again, I can't speak, Justin, and I know Matt can't either, to what he was told by that previous regime. I brought it up to Trevor, and he obviously kind of defaulted to, let's evaluate how the footwork looked today. But Matt, what is that footwork change to your knowledge in terms of what Trevor previously looked like, what he's looking like now with the actual progressions tied to where he stands and where he moves his feet?
Yeah, and I can't speak to the specifics of it either, but that is really interesting, and why they wouldn't want to work with him on that is a mystery.
I was surprised too.
But
I was like, that's the first time hearing about it. So
yeah, but I know that was something when we had Liam on Up and Adams that he really stressed was Trevor sitting in there going through his progressions, making sure like the mechanics were a huge part of it. I was actually, you don't hear a lot of coaches that candid about their quarterback, but the level of accountability, even in just our interview with him, was extremely high. And he was, not taking it easy on Trevor. He pointed out a lot of issues he wanted Trevor to work on, and those mechanics were a huge part of it, especially the lower body mechanics. And I did think, we saw Trevor have to go through his progressions at times. And it was, I think it is still a work in progress, but you did see him on a few of these throws reset his feet, get in the proper position, and rip some great throws. I thought that dig to De'Ami Brown before the half to set up the field goal that put him up 3 scores was his biggest throw of the game. It was a massive play in this game to build a 3-score lead. But I thought that was a good example of that. There were other times when he kind of scored the intentional grounding where, I thought he could have reset himself and thrown that one. But yeah, I thought overall it looked cleaner operationally with a lot of that stuff with his footwork. Again, it's going to be a work in progress, but I love the standard that Liam Cohen is holding him to, and the fact that it does seem like he's being tough on him, but in a really good way.
And as Cleetwood points out, Matt Hamilton, I feel like if there was no weather delay, Trevor would have had the day everyone expected. The score, the big breaks, it took him out of rhythm. First half was lights out. I don't know if it was lights out, but certainly a lot of those miscues popped up in the second half after the weather delay and the halftime intermission 6 minutes later.
Yeah.
Matt, we're going to keep you for 5 more minutes because I do want to look ahead to the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that, because you do produce Kay Adams' show, I know is near and dear to her heart. You're very familiar with the cast of characters that the Jaguars will be going up against this week. So give us a primer. What can the Jaguars expect going up to Cincinnati this week?
Yeah, I think going through that Bengals game against the Browns, the offense clearly was not what we saw at the end of last year, at least not yet. And a lot of that, every time they play the Browns, it's messy. This is just how those games go between the Bengals and Browns. So I don't think I can really read into that too much. This offense is super explosive. As we know, they have so much talent at the skill positions. That line did look really shaky. And Myles Garrett has that ability to make a lot of lines, but it was, as that game wore on, I feel like the line got worse and worse. So that's really where the Jaguars are going to have to win this game. And they have the ability to win this game in the trenches with Trayvon and Josh Hines Allen and the cast of characters that they have up front. So that's going to be, I think, their biggest advantage in this game. They have to make Joe Burrow as uncomfortable as possible. I mean, obviously, for any time you play any great quarterback, that's the goal. But I think the Jaguars really do have an edge in that area. If they can't get home, if they can't bring these exotic pressures, that's where they're going to get killed. I think they have to be aggressive as they were. And then on the other side of the ball, that Bengals defense, I thought looked shaky. It may not, the Browns didn't put up a lot of points, but that Browns offense just doesn't have a ton. There were 2 drops that led directly to interception, 2 balls that should have been caught that ended up being intercepted, which really bailed the Bengals out. I still think they're trying to find their way defensively. So I do think there are a lot of opportunities for the Jaguars to get after the Bengals.
Go back to that pressure point, though, Matt. I'm very interested in terms of the blitzes, because we did see a couple nickel blitzes brought. I mean, Jordan Lewis almost took Bryce Young's head off at one point on Sunday. People obviously want to see more Travis Hunter integrated into the defense. We broke down with Austen at the top of the show, the Smoot sack. You can see Travis Hunter clearly in Ted McMillan's pocket throughout the route. I'm curious, what do you think, in terms of personnel matchups, why is there a path to victory for the Jaguars, and maybe what steps have to be taken?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I don't think anybody matches up great with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's tough. But again, the way that you mitigate that is by getting pressure and by getting pressure early. And I think that's really what the Jaguars can do. I think I also liked what we saw up front from some of the games that they played, even when they didn't bring pressure. Some of the games of Trayvon and Eric Armstead and things like that. They're going to create opportunities because again, you don't want to just blitz the house against Joe Burrow either. You got to manage it. But I really think it's less so a personnel thing, more a scheme thing. I really liked how they mixed up those blitzes and confused the protections without sending the house. They'd bring 5, 6, but drop guys. The offensive line didn't know who was coming, who was dropping. And I think that's really where they're going to have the advantage against this Bengals offense.
Matt, we appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us in Club 904, only our second week. And so only our, I think, 4th or 5th guest that we've had. But first and foremost, before we let you go, you got to tell us what's cooking up in Adams, especially this Travis Etienne segment. Tell us more.
Yeah, we're going to get give a little love to Travis Etienne tomorrow. So definitely be on the lookout for that. We got Gronk on the show as well. We actually just wrapped an interview with a division rival, Cam Bynum, who had a lot of interesting things to say about that Colts big Week 1 win. So a lot on deck for tomorrow's show. I'm excited about it.
Can't wait. And of course, you know that the folks in Duval are always locked in with you on social at Matt Hamilton 25. And we appreciate you repping the Jags on the national scene, Matt.
Thanks for having me. Love being here.
Absolutely. Again, that's Matt Hamilton. You could catch him on Up and Adams. He is the executive producer, and we appreciate him joining us in the club on Club 904. Keep those questions coming. It's time for Last Call. We're going to do a little Q&A. We'll have the Last Dance as well, my final thoughts. And of course, on Thursday, we'll have an even more detailed breakdown. We'll head behind enemy lines and hear from some folks in Cincinnati as we get ready for the Jaguars' Week 2 matchup in Ohio against the Cincinnati Bengals. You are listening to Club 904, syndicated live on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel. Don't go anywhere. Last Call coming up next.
To get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick GMC. We are professional grade.
Putting your needs first. It's the backbone of how First Florida Credit Union does business. In all honesty, you might as well be speaking another language when it comes to finances. Sure, I'm good with my money, but what am I missing in the fine print? That's what led me to First Florida Credit Union. They're the perfect choice for anyone starting their financial journey because they keep finances easy. Plus, they offer financial education and resources I can trust. So I'm always growing more confident. And as a young adult, I am constantly adding more responsibilities to my plate. From a car payment to a mortgage, it all adds up. Luckily, First Florida Credit Union makes sure it adds up in all the right places and not the wrong ones by offering better rates and lower fees than traditional banks, even if you're still trying to grow your credit. Because as a member-owned institution, First Florida genuinely puts people's needs first rather than focusing on profit. So I know as my needs change, they'll be right there to help me reach my goals. Check out firstflorida.org to learn how you can benefit too.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can get a free Connecticut reverse osmosis system with a purchase of a Connecticut Premier Softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Hi, I'm Greg Mackey from Cycles of Jacksonville. Whether you're looking for a side-by-side, ATV, motorcycle, or scooter, Honda has what you need.
The Honda Talon. Ultimate performance meets family-friendly fun. Prices starting at $363 a month. Or the sporty Honda CBR 650 starting at an affordable $204 a month.
Stop by and choose your adventure from a full line of Honda products. Only at Cycles of Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard. Family owned and operated since 1983.
Hello, I'm Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Since 2003, our firm has fought exclusively for the rights of men in family law. Divorce, modification of child support, alimony, custody, and more, all for men. A father is vitally important to a child's life, and being a man is not a reason to pay more in child support or alimony. I'm a single father. I get it. If you have a divorce or other family law issue, contact Kenny Lay and Associates at divorcemenonly.com.
High school football is right around the corner, and here at Action Sports Jax 24/7, we're bringing in a new wave of high school football coverage, introducing the Blitz Breakdown and the Friday night game of the week. Start your week off right with the Blitz Breakdown on Monday nights, giving you live analysis, interviews, picks, rankings, and more, making it a one-stop shop for high school football in the 904. And don't think we're stopping there, because on Friday nights when the lights get bright, Action Sports Jax 24/7 will be there with a live game of the week, bringing you some of the best in-county rivalries in the area.
Play as hard as you can play, do your job, and stay together. Okay, the rest will take care of itself.
Action Sports Jax 24/7, your home for high school football.
One more segment to go here on a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Thanks for hanging out with us. So many of you guys in the club today. In fact, the tracker tells me over 700 of you. I never know whether to believe that or not, but I appreciate all of you interacting here live, both on YouTube and X. A shout out to John, a shout out to King David, our friend South Florida. Reed is in the club. Reed notes that Tank Bigsby was terrible in pass protection, and he put the ball on the ground and couldn't catch. Goodbye. That seems like an appropriate place to begin last call on this fine Tuesday. Look, I understand that there are many of you who love Tank Bigsby. I understand, which I maybe didn't understand as many of you about 24 hours ago, but I also understand there are many of you that had issues with Tank Bigsby, much like you did with Travis Etienne after he put the ball on the ground multiple times in his first true season in the National Football League. Tank Bigsby, an inauspicious start to his NFL career. He fumbled, I believe it was 2 of his first 6 touches, of course, notably in that Indianapolis Colts season opener in 2023. Ends up in the doghouse for Press Taylor and company. I don't know if he fully recovered, but I think a lot of that was a byproduct of the organization's dysfunction from a season ago and just the lack of results on the field. And so he was never really able to become the player that he is. I heard from multiple people, some of the folks who have either been jettisoned via release or trade since this new regime came in. They really needed a fresh start. I think Tank Bigsby's kind of in that category. Love Tank. Great human being, have seen him grow in his 2 seasons here. I think it's interesting that the Philadelphia Eagles have looked at him as a kick returner. There's a great stat from my friend Bill Barnwell over at ESPN. He noted in his write-up regarding the trade that I think kind of speaks to, I don't want to say that it's just an interesting trade. Again, I noted in the Mo Bryan NFL notebook that I've been hearing the Eagles were monitoring the Jaguars running back situation dating back to early August. So do with that information what you will. But as Barnwell notes, Tank only has 7 kickoff returns over the last 2 years. He generated a 0.2 EPA per kickoff return during that time. That's 19th among guys with 5 or more returns. Again, it's a very small sample size, but as Bill notes, Amir Abdullah, 5th by the same metric over the last 2 years, was released yesterday morning and a free agent. So interesting that the Philadelphia Eagles said, oh, no, that's the guy we want to be our kick returner. I think it's also fascinating because a lot of folks nationally have noted that there is a comp between A.J. Dillon, who the Eagles signed this offseason after he spent the last 4 years, albeit one of them all year on reserve injured, with the Green Bay Packers, that's been a comp to Tank. I wouldn't put A.J. Dillon and Tank in the same conversation, but interesting addition to the Eagles running back room when you consider what Saquon Barkley offers, what Will Shipley offers. Perhaps it really is a Will Shipley related injury. And so I'm fascinated to see what this means for both sides long-term, because Bashal Tutin also has a history of putting the ball on the ground during his time at Virginia Tech, even if 2 of those 6 fumbles during his time with the Hokies were during rain-inflicted games. Hey, let's keep the questions coming. We got 2 more minutes here on Club 904. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. So a couple folks asking about the interior of the defensive line. Let's make that today's last dance, because that for me is where I'm fascinated to see where the Jacksonville Jaguars improve from game 1 to game 2. The Cincinnati Bengals started off the 2025 campaign with a bang. They went right down the field. That offense looked maybe not exactly, as Matt Hamilton alluded to, it didn't look exactly like we're used to, but nonetheless, they were able to generate offense both on the ground and through the air. Chase Brown's final stat line, especially for those of you who clamored for him during fantasy football season. 21 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. That's a 2-yard per carry average. The Cleveland Browns defense, for all their shortcomings on offense, pretty darn good the last few years. They've been the kryptonite of the Cincinnati Bengals. So maybe you look at that and you say that's a one-off. But I do think that if the Bengals cannot get that ground game going, that's an advantage for the Jaguars, obviously. That'd be an advantage for everyone. But I do think that that is really where they have to start separating. And I understand the Jaguars may not have the horses for courses per se when it comes to stacking up against a Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. That's why Austen Lane and Matt Hamilton both noted maybe you see more zone, maybe more exotic blitzes trying to make Joe Burrow uncomfortable. But I'm fascinated to see that middle of the Jaguars defensive line, because in the first half, I did not think, I'm with you guys in the YouTube chat right now, I did not think that the interior of the Jaguars defensive line looked like it had improved. They were getting gashed up the gut in the early going against the Panthers with Chuba Hubbard and company. Certainly post-game, Josh Hines-Allen said to me that the biggest thing that stuck out to him was that containing the quarterback, Joe Burrow, a lot more athletic than people give him credit for. He can also escape the pocket. So I'm sure that is something that Anthony Campanelli and this defense is going to hit hard in the week of practice. But that right up the gut stuff, I'm with the commenters on YouTube, because I was definitely a little perturbed by that interior of the defensive line on Sunday as well. Although to Reed's point, I thought Colin Saunders looked pretty good. And it was Hef, by the way, who asked the question about the interior of the defensive line. I thought Colin Saunders looked good in the run game, but ultimately that's what he is. He's a run stuffer. He's a big body plugger. He's not going to generate necessarily that push in the pocket that maybe you'd like to see Mason Smith take on that role. Eric Armstead played decent. You want to create a defensive line where it's not just reliant on those edge rushers to generate pressure and get after the quarterback. You would love to see, at the very least, the interior of the defensive line opening up situations for those edge rushers to feast on the quarterback. And I'll be curious to see, especially now with the Jaguars in a corresponding move, in case you missed it, they signed another running back in Cody Schrader from the Los Angeles Rams to take Tank Bigsby's spot on the active 53-man roster if Mason Smith is active on Sunday, because I would argue, at least based off talent and on paper, he's the defensive lineman that gives you the best opportunity to generate that push from the interior. But will he be on the field? That remains to be seen. What I do know is that we will be back here, same time, same place on Thursday from the Action Sports Jacks headquarters. Marshall Kramsky, my good buddy from WCPO in Cincinnati, he has a new podcast out as well. He's going to join us in the 1 o'clock hour here on the ASJ 24/7 channel on Thursday so that we can break down this matchup between the Jaguars and the Bengals even more. Appreciate you guys hanging out in the club with us. Again, be sure to like and subscribe at the Action Sports Jacks Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, X, Facebook, Twitch, so much more. And maybe throw a little subscribe to the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook too. We'll catch you guys on Thursday.
To get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models, or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
Putting your needs first. It's the backbone of how First Florida Credit Union does business. In all honesty, you might as well be speaking another language when it comes to finances. Sure, I'm good with my money, but what am I missing in the fine print? That's what led me to First Florida Credit Union. They're the perfect choice for anyone starting their financial journey because they keep finances easy. Plus, they offer financial education and resources I can trust. So I'm always growing more confident. And as a young adult, I am constantly adding more responsibilities to my plate. From a car payment to a mortgage, it all adds up. Luckily, First Florida Credit Union makes sure it adds up in all the right places and not the wrong ones by offering better rates and lower fees than traditional banks, even if you're still trying to grow your credit. Because as a member-owned institution, First Florida genuinely puts people's needs first, rather